Hi, ladies and gentlemen, Eddie Marcus here again. Yes, and as spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people, with a mission of establishing heaven on earth. In other words, waking you up to a mission that we as human beings have the responsibility of taking care of, and that is creating the promised land. You see, when you are in bondage, all we know is bondage. We don't know anything else but bondage. We have the idea that if we're ever free from bondage, it would be like a dream come true. It would be like a promised land because the things that we experienced in bondage would not happen where we were and bondage wasn't. So that was a wonderful thing. Release them from bondage and give them the opportunity to create heaven on earth. Give them the opportunity to create, my friend, the promised land. Now, we have all experienced hell. In fact, we are all experiencing hell today. Every human being on the face of the earth today is experiencing hell. In fact, this is hell. The world that we live in is hell. It wasn't made hell because it's the same earth that would be, if we had heaven, it would be the same earth that which God put out here. The rivers, the valleys, the seas, the trees, flowers, it would still be the same. Nothing changed because it was made perfect in the beginning. As we were made perfect until we had the choice of what? Have a choice. And then we got exploited. We were told that some were better than others. Anything. All of the stuff that exists in the world today, rather than me trying to pick out two or three of them, everything that exists in the world today is a fruition of hell. Now, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, in the middle of this, and people are talking about going to church, talking about loving God. All of that stuff is just allowed. That stuff that you hear is not practiced. It would not be permitted to be practiced because there's no, if you're not in hell, you're in heaven. And there are differences. So when they tell you that you got to wake up, that you got to be born again, that your mind got to be renewed, that means taking out the trash. That means on the Monday, Tuesday, whatever the week they come around, pick up your trash wherever you live now. That means now the garbage man has come. And all that stuff that you've been indoctrinated in the world that keeps the world the way it is, you'll pull that stuff off. And you're beginning to see how the thing works. And now that you see how certain things, you don't know everything to begin, everything at once. You start doing what you know. You start giving representation for what you know. And I'm not talking about playing. You know, when you start trying to fix a car, you can't go and give it a crooked part to try to make it work. I mean, sometimes you can't afford, you go to the junkyard, you pull the stuff like that. But for the most, you want to get the best part. You want to get that good part. So when you go to try to fix something, you got to take some new stuff. And when you go there with this new stuff, in the world, it's designed to say, heck no, and try to fight against the new stuff and say the new stuff don't work and send you back to the junkyard to get some stuff to come back. Well, see, that ain't the way heaven works. Heaven stays the new part. Heaven stays the new part. And so the evidence of a person that's born again is determined by their receipts. You got to have the receipts or you just talking hot air. Now, people be talking about God gonna forgive me, and I grew up in hell, and God knows my heart. Now, I know how that story goes. I've gone through it most of my life, and I've seen people go through it. But the only way I can answer that is this: God does know your heart, and God respects the fact that we are in hell, and most of us didn't create it. We just brought up in it, and we keep it going because we don't know any better. But there's something inside of us that God has instilled, just like our heart. And it is able to communicate to us what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what's not. And the hope is to pull us toward that direction that represents who we really are. If it's love, then it eradicates, or it's projected to eradicate the suffering and stuff. And if it is not, then it's going to do the opposite. Well, see, this is the kind of things that we have to deal with in life. So yes, you can live in the earth, in hell, and what you yes, you can live in hell and begin waking up while in hell. But the evidence of that is how you start responding in the hell that you're in with the new stuff that you got. Now you're still gonna have a whole bunch of hell stuff that's in you, but the stuff that you just had changed, they expect to see those receipts, and those things that you're just ignorant of, those things that you just don't know. Yeah, God sees your heart. God's not going to punish you for your ignorance, but that stuff where you come to get enlightenment, God expects to hold you to that, hold you to it, because that's the only evidence that you got. That's what you are held to. So, what I'm basically saying is this: we're all in this hell. And in order for this here hell to change to what we want to call a promised land, we got to eradicate all of that stuff that represents hell. Lack of health care, all of that got to be fixed. We got to make sure there's health care for everyone. We got to make sure that it's not just health care, but it's the best health care. It's the health care that's designed to cure stuff. That's make sure. And that's health care for every human being on earth that might need it. Education, the same identical stuff. Education is to be unlimited and unrestricted in the promised land. Anything you want to study that's available to be studied is there for you, my friend. And it doesn't cost you a penny. Unlimited and unrestricted. Oh, this is the land that we're building, the promised land. Now, do you know anywhere in the world that this is happening? Let's talk about housing. Everybody on the face of earth got something comfortable that they call and satisfied with as housing. Every human being. Instead of a group of them, family, I don't know how, but nobody's out homeless. Nobody's suffering a lack thereof. When it comes down to transportation, when it comes down to anything that is made by the hands of man, it is designed for the meeting the needs, the wants, and the desires of the people. And they suffer, my friends, I tell you this every time it seems, for nothing that is made by we the people. That produces peace and prosperity and freedom and joy, happiness, fulfillment and satisfaction, and for us to live our dreams. And this is what we call the promised land. This is what we call the promised land. You talking about Donald Trump in America, walking around calling people stupid, calling them fools. They ask him a question. You got to be stupid to ask me a question. Who the hell are you? Calling you the worst thing that he can think of, talking about your country, talking about trying to destroy America, ripping everything off, and you love him. You didn't let Charlie Kirk get away with no stuff like that. Donald Trump decided to say they tried to get him 2 times. Then nobody tried to kill Donald Trump. You know that was fake. That was pure D fake. Anybody trying to kill somebody gonna get killed. That was pure D fake. But it was an expression of evil in the world and what it tries to do to manipulate how you think about certain things. So I don't care what you're thinking, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not thinking what I just got to share with you as being creative in that process of establishing. What am I talking about? The promised land. Then it's not. So right now, you know where you are going to church, paying your tithes and reading your scriptures that's doing nothing as far as of giving you a receipt. No, baby. It's the renewing of your mind, which is evidenced by your faith, which is works. Without that, we spent all of eternity in hell, in bondage. Now you say, we want to be free? Moses, Eddie, y'all want to be free? Okay, I'm going to free you. Now, go create the promised land. You can't do it with where you come from because all you know is bondage. All you know is hell. Don't you realize down south, everywhere in America, don't matter where you go, you got 1 or 2 people trying to stand up for what's right and everything else just crooked as can be? Because that's what you know. But when you start talking about creating something new, you're not talking about what you know. You're talking about what you envision, what you are seeing someplace else, invisible, but you're seeing it within. And out of that comes the reality. So when we're talking about creating the promised land, it's nothing based upon what's going here. And another thing before I go, I want to tell you this about your church people. They got a lot of things on the social media today talking about blacks and the power of blacks and how they've been mistreated and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff is true, but a lot of stuff I want you to understand it's just some stuff to do what things have always done. Program you for some reason that it is not for your benefit. And one of the things that you can point to that is not for your benefit. When you see those AIs coming on telling you about speaking for heaven or speaking and how much money and wealth you're going to get, that's just like the preachers who are talking about prosperity. Give them this. Now, I guess you're listening to this particular group and this kind of money you're going to get. I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, there is no money in heaven. There's not enough money that can meet the needs of the heart. The heart gives you everything. So what amount of money is provided for everything, for every individual? Just can't happen. So I want you to realize it's fair. The real deal is heaven and hell. Ain't no in between. Heaven and hell. If you think you missing out, are you in between a little bit? You in hell. So all you folks who out there been hating, and you've been hating so strong, you can't see any way that you can forgive, then that means you can't be forgiven. You have put a block between you and God. You can't be forgiven. Why? Because you won't accept it. In order for you to accept forgiveness, you got to give forgiveness. And if you won't, you can't. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for giving me this your time. I'm sorry for and apologize for any problems I might have caused you. But until next time, Eddie Marcus saying goodbye for now.